All right, deep breath. Here we go. Calculations. So as we have in the past, the calculation step is for us to show that we know what math is going on in the background and then to dip over to our TI calculator and actually let it do the heavy lifting of running these computations. So, running a two-proportion z-test, here is the formula. Z equals the difference in proportions, because remember, we're looking to compare proportion 1 against proportion 2. So I'm going to take sample proportion 1 and compare it to sample proportion 2. And I'll divide that by the square root of, this is a big one, our friend combined proportion, p hat sub c, multiplied by its complement times 1 over our sample size of sample 1 plus 1 over our sample size of sample 2. Let's remind ourselves what this guy is, p hat sub c. So p hat sub c, just as a little side math here, remember this is the combined sample proportion and it can be found by taking the number of successes in our first sample plus the number of successes in our second sample and dividing that by the number of trials in our first sample plus the number of trials in our second sample. And we'll just take that and then drop it in here. So you find this value first and then drop it in where it's needed. So here's our calculation. This is what we show. We drop all the numbers in. But what we're going to do to actually figure out that z-score is we're going to hit our stat button. We're going to head on over to the tests menu. And from there, from that third menu over, we're going to go down until we find a two-proportion z-test. And that's what we're going to run. And your TI calculator is going to prompt you to tell me what was the number of successes in my first proportion. What's the number of total trials in that first proportion. It'll ask you how many successes in the second and how many trials in the second. And that's really all the information you're going to have to put in other than the direction of your hypothesis. So set it up, show that you know what the numbers are and where they go, but then jump over to your TI and run the computations.